I'd been thinking of making myself a specialized toolbox for events and repairs which are away, out of this workshop. These events I go to called repair cafes. You might have heard me mention those on some occasions. These 3,800 groups of volunteers in cities all over the world who get together several times a month to fix people's stuff, their possessions. Those are repair cafes. Well, since repair cafes rarely have a permanent locale, us volunteers store our tools and parts somewhere, such as a storage locker or a closet, and we set up these long cafeteria-style tables for our dozens of volunteers and participants, which, in our case, can number around 100. We set up individual places which include mats, tools, usually one of these screwdriver kits, sometimes a soldering station, and some of our own stuff. Extension cords for lights and power, and once the event is over, we take it all down and store it till the next event. Most of us bring some of our own tools. Mine is at my feet in this pouch-like bag where I have to rummage through the pockets and at the bottom. And since we're already tripping over one another because most of us are hopeless but lovable klutzes, the bags and toolboxes add an additional obstacle to the whole repair process, where we often run around trying to get tools, parts, and components. Additionally, some of the small desk lamps we set up for individual lighting are just slightly subpar. Their reach is limited, they're often underpowered, and, worst of all, sometimes they flicker. Also, we're plugging in appliances into extension cords which are usually laying on the floor. That's not ideal, and I'm not a complainy type. But all this has led to my necessity of finding a better system for myself. The repair box. The repair box is a dedicated workstation which holds most of the tools I use on a regular basis at repair cafes. First, take a look at my initial choices for toolbox and what I believed I wanted to fit in there. Since I wanted to have my most often used tools handy, and since space was at a premium, and I wanted an elegant, well thought out design, here is the final pick. This compact 12-volt rigid drill, which fits in neatly into this compartment. I removed the battery to get it to fit because opposite the drill, on the cover, is a set of small drill bits. They're held in place by what you might have recognized as an old drill bit set box, cut and riveted in place, plus a small neodymium magnet to keep the flap from popping open. Next is this really useful set of long shafted screwdriver bits. This set has standard screw heads and many of the weird safety screw bits. This set is held in place by a 3D printed boxy thing, designed in Tinkercad and then 3D printed. I've not taken off enough of the corner to allow for the hinge. I might have to reprint that someday. Maybe. Next is this Pick-Quick multi-bit screwdriver, which also works with the long shafted drivers. Though it looks great when it's just displayed there, the Pick-Quick's positioning is a bit of a compromise. It's held in place by a 3D printed holster, which latches onto the cover with neodymium magnets. The philosophy behind the repair box is first order of retrievability, and having to remove the cradle to get the Pick-Quick is sort of counterintuitive. So the first thing I do is remove it and stick it right here. And I'm always using this screwdriver anyway. Also, I need to remove the cradle to get to this box of specialized screwdriver bits and assorted tools. This is a nice little kit which my buddy Gilles gave to me a while ago, and it has all the bits I'll ever need, including the evil oval pan head. The box fits in securely in this rack. Moving on To the right are a selection of tools which are used to disassemble, because disassembly is 3/4 of the effort we put into repairs. To pry, hold components in place, and pull wires in tight spaces. This is often associated with soldering, so that's why I put the soldering station right here. Held in place by a 3D printed insert is a really small soldering iron. Some flux in the syringe, separated into its components for space, some solder, and the bits for this iron. Speaking of which, this is a tiny little iron for the tiny little amount of soldering I do. It has a rechargeable battery which runs out really quickly, but that's okay because this repair box also has its own power supply. We'll get to that. So I pop in a tip, turn on the iron, and slip it into this stand, which folds away when not in use. Next to the drill on the sledge is my multimeter. I fit a box for smaller tools like this component tester, leads, flexible extension, even some sticky stuff to hold down screws and other small parts, a pen, etc., etc., etc. Since I couldn't find an elegant manner of storing these vice grips, this plier wire stripper combo, and this mini flush cutter inside the toolbox, I made this holster which fits securely to the front of the box. This is composed of 3 plies of 1/4-inch PVC board. The 2 inside panels have the inset cuts for the tools, plus a full exterior panel, painted black and screwed in from the inside. The same 1/4-inch PVC board is used as a liner at the bottom of the toolbox, plus this partition, this ledge, as well as this portion here. Stuck somewhere inside of the repair box, you'll find a neodymium magnet, which I use to pick up small metal parts and to magnetize screwdriver bits so that screws will hold securely. There remains a bit of room here so that I can slip out the parts box and possibly store anything else which might come along for a repair session, such as my Geek-O-Matic magnifying glasses with integrated light. Uber repairman Richard pointed out that I was missing one of these small part and screw containers, magnetized, as well as a way of storing my extension cord when I'm carrying the repair box. I'll probably be printing some sort of system upon which I can wind the cable right here on the back. Yeah, so you get the concept, right? I wanted each and every tool to have its own dedicated spot. And since I'm very messy and disorganized when I work, my tools get scattered all over the place. So once I'm done with the tool, it just slips back into its spot. Also, we all tend to lend our tools as we all work together, and some get even more scattered. It's nice to see at a glance if something is missing. But that's all fine and fairly standard with any well-organized toolbox. But this is a repair station. And what really sets the repair box apart is that it has its own power source. And you can choose to believe that if you ignore the fact that it plugs into an extension cord, or rather that an extension cord plugs into it. Also, it has its own powerful light, which won't flicker, fall over, or be pulled away if somebody tugs on the power cord. It's a perfect light source, which I can perfectly control completely. The socket, the power input, is right here. Did I mention that the light is perfect? Okay, right here at the back and well out of the way. The junction is tucked away in this corner box here, and the light's power cord runs along the bottom of the toolbox, then out right here through this rubber grommet. This pivot is the original one, which came with this $25 Canadian Tire desk lamp, a LED bulb, and when it's not in use or when it's being carried, it slips into this 3D printed clutchy thing. Also connected to the socket is this desktop power outlet and charging station, modified and rewired to fit to the side of the repair box. If I need to test an appliance, this is where I'd plug it in. USB charging ports, really handy to power my little soldering irons battery. I actually just plug it in and use it with the wire. When I'm done, it consolidates. It closes up, I latch it, and I'm ready to go. It's been field tested once, and I'm really happy with this as is. There might be some eventual additions like that extension cord wrangler and some way to decorate the repair box while keeping this beat up, used and abused, junky, post-apocalyptic aesthetic that I like so much. I had designed a logo, but it just looks too neat and commercial. So I'll probably just spray paint some white stenciled lettering angled across the top and side. Yeah. Well, friends, I'm happy I got to share this with you, so thanks for watching.